Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to another video segment that I just wanted to kind of somewhat create, mostly because there's been a lot of news, a lot of stuff that's been going on and everything like that, a lot of stuff that's kind of going on with my life and everything like that, a lot of details that takes too many videos to make, so I figured condense them all into one single video, condense all of my thoughts and opinions, all the different stuff that's been going on, and just kind of create a new video segment. So today's segment, I'm just going to kind of call this BlackCross Gamer Chat, because that's what this kind of is, that it's just me talking about everything in terms of video games, talking about all the stuff that's been going on and everything like that, and all this stuff. So let's go ahead and get started. So first and foremost, I wanted to talk about the most recent Direct that we've gotten, from Nintendo Direct to the PlayStation State of Play. And let's go ahead and just dive into that and talk about the up-and-coming part of it, per se. I'm kind of getting a little tired of these leaks. Aren't you? Because I know I've been getting tired of them. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Maybe everybody else is getting tired of them. Or maybe no one's getting tired of them because they want to see what possible leaks are coming out and stuff like that. But to me, personally, they've been happening a lot more often than they should. Just these random leaks that happen out of nowhere. And really, they make no sense whatsoever. Because here's the bad thing. These leaks shouldn't happen when you think about it. These companies, they try to keep it quiet from the public eye to where no one knows about them and stuff like that. Yet for some reason, whenever these leaks come out, in some ways they're true, but then there are other ways that are just kind of little speculated truths, if you will. Like, they're somewhat related, but not directly related. Like, they happen a little bit too often. It seems like every single time there's like a new Direct that's fixing to come out, a few days before the official announcement of the Direct, someone's leaked out saying, hey, Nintendo will be doing a Nintendo Direct sometime this month. Or somebody leaks out saying, Sony's PlayStation is going to do a Direct sometime this month. So on and so forth. So it's like, it gets old hearing about this stuff. It gets old kind of hearing about it. And so anytime a Direct gets leaked, I usually end up just kind of like shutting down from all that stuff, just kind of completely cutting myself all informations on that, because really, in all honesty, I really don't want to know what's going on in the Direct until I look at it myself. And that's what I kind of have to do sometimes. That's what I kind of had to end up doing. But while that may be the case, the Nintendo Direct, it seems like every Nintendo Direct that I see, it gets better and better in terms of the presentation of the Direct itself. I think Nintendo knows better about its audience better than any other company, and the Direct shows it. The Direct shows exactly what needs to be done. It needs to show the right amount of content, the right amount of stuff that people want to see. They want to see a lot of games. They don't want to see a lot of fluff. They want to go straight into the games, and then that's it, No need to talk any details. No need to have a developer talk about his inspiration as to what the game is and stuff like that. Talk about the game and what it's going to be and what the gameplay is going to be like and stuff like that. And try to condense it down to less than 2 minutes at a time. To which Nintendo has done so. And they've done this really, really well, in my personal opinion. Yes, on occasion, they do kind of re-show previous stuff that they have talked about, but they always make certain to show new stuff that they haven't talked about since its original announcement. You know what I mean? So say, for example, the Super Mario RPG. We've already known about this from their last Direct that they've done, and this time, while they did talk a little bit about it, they also talked a little bit more details about the game, one of them being post-game boss fights. In other words, boss fights that you have already fought before, now you get to refight them again, but harder. I love this. I love seeing that. The fact that you can refight these bosses, but them be a little bit harder, that's really cool in my personal opinion, because it kind of reminds me of how Kingdom Hearts had the data bosses, where they're essentially the same boss, but a lot harder. I love seeing that. I love seeing that. Overall, that's one of my personal favorites to see. But then we also had the announcement of, for example, Luigi's Mansion 2, which was, I believe, is a remaster of the 3DS title that was released, and they're now remastering it to where it's available to be played on the Nintendo Switch. And that's really cool. That kind of confirms that there may be a possibility that we'll see possibly more 3DS titles being remastered for the Switch. That would be really cool, you know, to eventually see. Doubt it, but it would be cool if they could. To see, like, for example, Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire coming out, possibly, maybe even Sun and Moon. That'd be cool to see. I would love to see those games being put onto the Switch. And possibly even other ones as well, for example, Luigi's Mansion. Because we got Luigi's Mansion 3, and now that we got 2, we just need to get the 1 added on to Nintendo Switch, and that'd be great. Then, of course, they confirmed the announcement of the new Peach game. And while I have no major interest into the Peach game, it does look good. It does look really cool. In fact, my brother was really... I think next to Mario Wonder, Princess Peach Showtime got him even more excited. And I was like, that's really cool to see. But surprise, surprise, the one game that got my interest the most out of that entire Nintendo Direct was an RPG game made by Atlas and made by the same people who've done games like, for example, Odin Sphere as well as Dragon's Crown. It is Unicorn Overlords. This game looks incredibly interesting, incredibly fascinating to me. The art style is exactly what you would expect. It's beautiful, it's well done, but not only that, the gameplay is really cool. I love the gameplay choice that they went with. It's tactical in a sense of where you take your troops and move them into certain areas and stuff like that, area points to where you could fight on a group of enemies, and then you enter in from that segment onto a turn-based field in which where you're fighting against the opposite opponents and stuff like that. I love seeing that combination because I love tactical RPGs that allows you to move your troops to certain areas in order to take down towers and stuff. But then again, to see it go from that to also transition into a turn-based field, I love seeing that as well. It looks really fun. It looks really well done. I'm excited for that one. I am very excited for that one. That looks like it'd be a fun one. But they also did other reveals as well. For example, they did the Paper Mario Thousand Years Door remake. And I mean, I guess eventually we would have seen something like this. I know a lot of people would have been fine with a remaster, but to see a remake, a lot of people are just losing their absolute mind. Rightfully so, in fact, because this was like a highly demand title to be released onto the Switch. This was highly recommended by players because, number one, it has now reached to a point in terms of like trying to get it available, making it harder and harder because it's only ever been available on GameCube. And that particular game price has went up drastically insane. So it's incredibly stupid. Yet at the same time too, it seems like as though as if it's just kind of crazy of how people have been like demanding for certain remakes and stuff. Dadgum the stupid light, I'm getting tired of that thing. Yeah, one of my lights just literally went out and I'm getting so pissed off with this. So, what was I? Oh yeah, the Super Mario RPGs, Paper Mario. Paper Mario Thousand Year Door remake. Dadgummit. So, yeah, needless to say, that one's actually looking really good. That one's really, really looking good. I'm actually surprised about that one. What's funny, though, is that Delmore recently just played some of the Paper Mario games. He's been replaying some of them in order to kind of see what they're like and stuff like that, especially since the original Paper Mario, I believe, is available for the Nintendo Online. So he got to play that for a little bit. So, but to see that after he beat Thousand Year Door, only for it to have a remake be made and stuff like that, it's like, what are the odds, right? So far, the Nintendo Direct was doing really, really well for itself. It's got a lot of new games and a lot of games that a lot of people liked to see. And even though we didn't get any new add-ons for the Nintendo Online ports and stuff like that, we still got a lot of new stuff coming out and everything like that. But then we have the State of Play. So, the State of Play. A lot of people have been talking about how hyped they are with the State of Play. I, on the other hand, was very underwhelmed with the State of Play. Now, I'll talk about the one thing that does have my interest, which leads on to something else, but in regards to that state of play, it really left me underwhelmed, I'm afraid. It didn't do well for me. Number one, I have no interest in Helldiver 2. I have no interest in it. Then we have Spider-Man 2, which for every single time I see a new announcement in regards to Spider-Man 2, the more I hate to say this, and I know a lot of people are going to hate me for this, but I really have zero interest whatsoever about any of the Spider-Man games. And that's kind of sad, because I did have interest in the first one that Insomniac did. You know, a lot of people were giving it high praises and was saying that it was really good. And so to see that they're doing a second one, I was like, oh cool, that's really cool. But the more they've advertised the shit out of this game, the more I'm just losing interest in it. And I'm just like, guys, I don't care about Spider-Man 2. I really do not care. To be perfectly honest, I wasn't really a Spider-Man fan to begin with anyway. I've been more of an Iron Man, Deadpool, Guardians of the Galaxy, Black Panther, you know, those things. But Spider-Man, despite the fact that it's like one of their biggest IPs in Marvel, it's not on my favorites, I'm afraid. And I'm just kind of like, it's sad to say, but I'm kind of done with seeing Spider-Man advertisement. And the fact that they have continued to advertise Spider-Man 2 every single time they get a chance now, it just gets old. And it's like, surely to goodness, it's fixing to come out, right? I forgot when it comes out, but I'm getting so tired of seeing that game. I really am. I know that's a very negative input on my opinion, but overall, I'm just getting tired of seeing that. I really am. I'm just getting so tired of seeing Spider-Man 2. Gosh. And then, of course, we have a couple of VR games that they talked about and everything like that, which unfortunately didn't have my interest whatsoever. And it's just, again, I was expecting something new, something extra and stuff like that. But really, for the most part, Sony just talked about some of the stuff that they talked about from their last state of play. Like, they even talked about Foam Stars, and they talked about, like I said, Helldiver and Spider-Man 2. And then, of course, the last game they talked about was Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, which is Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2, technically. Why they called it Rebirth, I don't know. I mean, they did call Crisis Core Reunion, and then, of course, they called this Part 2 Rebirth. So I'm sure there's a reason why, but as to what that is, I don't know at the moment. While the state of play didn't have a really good state of play, I would argue and say that is more of a meh for me, you know? I know for everybody else, they probably were hyped for it and stuff like that, but for me, it wasn't really that extravagant, sadly. So I know a lot of people will feel different about it, but to me, it just, compared to what Nintendo did, Sony didn't deliver as well. And I think what it was is that after the recent announcement or the leaks for Nintendo Direct, Sony just quickly put together their state of play as fast as they could and got what they were able to get, you know, whether it was game that they had previously talked about or anything remotely new. And in this case, they got both, but they wasn't really a good amount, you know what I mean? But that's personal opinion. Now we can finally talk about Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, because a lot of details have been coming up. And we'll lead on to the discussion into Square Enix, because I want to talk about a little bit about some of the news that's been going on from Square Enix's side. But Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. When I first saw the new recent trailer, I was somewhat excited, but not as excited as I would expect myself to be excited. You know, Final Fantasy VII, you know, one of my personal favorite Final Fantasy games and stuff like that. And I loved a remake. I loved how they did with Remake. Rebirth, I was hoping that they would not overly hype it, but, you know, make me still interested in the series. You know, to say like, yes, it was worth waiting this long. Think about it. Think about when it first came out. When Remake first came out. Now calculate when it comes out. When you calculate that much time, yeah, you kind of wonder if it's going to be worth it, you know? Because that was my biggest problem with the fact that, you know, Final Fantasy VII Remake in multiple parts, while that is cool and it's a good ideal, especially considering the fact that you have that much more content that you could add, that means that depending on how you do the process, it could be a very lengthy process and the final product may take longer to get finally realized, you know? And so it kind of left me kind of speculating on to like how they were going to do it. And at first I was a little bit hesitant on it. But now, seeing all the details that's been coming out for Rebirth, my speculations have been refueled to a point to where it's like, okay, I have nothing to worry about. They know what they're doing. And we've got a lot of stuff to look forward to, you know? A lot to look forward to. For example, in the trailer for Rebirth, we know the confirmation of being able to play as Yuffie as well as Red 13. Red 13 wasn't technically playable in Remake because Red 13 was only recently discovered by the group towards the end of the game, technically. So he wasn't remotely playable, but he did act as a contributing party member, which was cool. Now he's an actual active party member that not only you get to have, but you also get to play as. So that's really cool to play as both Red 13. We'll also be playing as Yuffie. There's also the possibility that we'll also be playing as Vincent Valentine, because he was revealed in the trailer as well, to see Vincent Valentine. We didn't see any gameplay footage. I imagine that's to save us from any potential spoilers that we could see. Hey there, future BlackCross here. So in terms of that little debate on whether or not Vincent Valentine and Sid Iwin are playable, it's been later been updated stating that they are going to be guest characters, much like how Red 13 was in Final Fantasy VII Remake. So until that ends up changing, or if they just decide not to change it, they are just guest characters. Which unfortunately sucks, but what are you gonna do, right? They've confirmed the length of the story of Rebirth. So what they've stated is that this takes place literally after they leave Midgar. Obviously, from the way it sounds like the whole flashback sequence for Cloud, talking about his interaction with Sephiroth and them, and Nibelheim is the tutorial portion, and then we go on to continue on through the game from there. I think that would make sense. So, but then the end point, they said, takes place into the Forgotten City. That means that depending on the story progression, the end of part 2 literally ends potentially right after the end of disc 1 or at the start of disc 2. Which by that point we've already gotten Sid as our active party member. So by that point, all the characters will have assembled and all the characters will be there. Then we also had Cassis. Now, Cassis, for the most part, we've only seen Cassis as his cat doll-like model. For those that don't know, Revis is controlling Cassis, and it's kind of like monitoring from a distance and stuff like that. And it's sort of like a robot toy, if you will. And in the original game, Cassis is paired up with this pink puffy looking thing, this pink monster thing. And before this recent image that I'm about to show you, we only saw Cassis, and we only know about Cassis, and that's all we saw. We saw just the cat toy. Now, with the recent gameplay and everything like that, we've seen images of that same pink puff character and Cassis. So now that's been confirmed, which means Cassis isn't just like an assist character or anything like that. He's an actual party character that you get to play as, and I imagine Cassis does the commands, but you have this pink puff thing that does a lot of punching and everything like that. So that's going to be cool to see. That's going to be. I was curious about how they were going to do Cassis, because in Advent Children, Cassis was mostly just attached to Red 13. But I knew that because of Final Fantasy VII, the original Final Fantasy VII, I was like, due to the modeling and stuff like that, Cassis would barely have been noticeable. So it kind of makes sense as to why they had to model him the way they did. But I was just kind of like, how are they going to do Cassis this time? And it's good to know that they kind of kept it the same to a degree. We also, the fact that we saw team attacks. You know, we saw Cloud and Sephiroth teaming up to attack an enemy. We saw Barret and Yuffie do a team attack. We also saw Aerith as well as Cassis do a team attack. So that's going to be really fun and interesting to see all of that being executed by the end of the day. It looks like it's going to be a really fun game to play. Much like how Final Fantasy VII Remake was a fun game to play, Rebirth is going to be just as fun, if not a lot more in-depth in terms of gameplay mechanics. We also have the fact that we have the Golden Saucer with all the different mini-games that you get to play and stuff like that. That'd be really cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I'm just looking forward to seeing the enemy designs too, because the enemy designs were crazy in the original. And then we saw some of them from where we were mostly in Midgar. The majority of them were mostly there. The majority of them was there. And so we're going to be seeing the majority of the enemies as well in this Rebirth. And we're going to see them in this new remake gameplay style. And it looks really cool. It looks really awesome. I'm looking forward to it. If I had my doubts for Rebirth before, they were completely gone. Like, they are completely gone. I am worried free, which is great. I love that. I love the fact that my worries and fears are now completely erased due to all the recent news that we've gotten about Rebirth, which is great. This is great. That's what I wanted. And the fact that Square Enix did that, that's a good thing to do. You know, you want to build confidence on an ambitious project like Final Fantasy VII Remake. You know, this was a very, very ambitious project. And it's going to have its mixed fans. It's going to have people that's going to love it, but then it's going to have people that's going to hate it. You're going to have both of them, you know. Me, I personally am looking forward to Rebirth, and I love the remake. I'm looking forward to it all. It's just going to be really good. It's going to be a good execution. It's not going to be the same, admittedly, compared to the original, but it's going to be interesting. They're doing everything they can to make it feel fresh. They're doing everything they can to make it unique. They're doing everything they can to make it something that is worth playing for, despite the fact that it has old fans and then new fans. You know, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to introduce new fans and old fans alike into this new segment of Final Fantasy VII, and it makes sense. And to me, I'm personally on board with it. But I'm more on board not only on the base game, but also the merchandise line. So, much like with Remake, we also had a various of different products that they have made, you know, statues and figures and stuff of that nature. But there were two figure lines that had my interest. Number one, we had the classic Bring Our Figure models. They did Cloud, Aerith, and Tifa of those particular characters. And I love how they look. I love how they look, and I want them. I want them so badly. It's like, I saw them, and I'm like, oh, I really want those. Oh, they look so cool. Oh, they look so good. I want them. I want them so badly. So, that's going to be fun. To me, that's going to be a fun one to collect, in all honesty, because, again, they look like how they looked in their promotional art style. Their promotional art style, as well as their CG cutscenes and stuff like that, as well as the battle models and stuff, they look just like those. And I love how they look. They look amazing. I want them. I want those more than I want the remake style. Is that crazy? Is that crazy for me to say? I don't think so, because I love how those look. Don't get me wrong, I do like the remakes, but if I had to choose, I would go for the original look. I love how they look. And we recently got the announcement for Barret, Red 13, and Sephiroth. Those have been confirmed so far since the Tokyo Game Show that's been going on right now. The Tokyo Game Show that is being aired right now, which by the time this video gets released, it will probably be over. But I digress. The fact that they confirmed those three is awesome. And I love that. I love the fact that they're continuing the characters, because that means that we could see the rest of them. You know, we'll see Cassis, we'll see Yuffie, we'll see Vincent Valentine, we'll see Sid Highwind. That is going to be cool, because that would mean that that would have the entire character collection right there. Because much like with Kingdom Hearts, my Kingdom Hearts collection that I've completed, I want to collect the Final Fantasy VII characters, because, yes, I love Final Fantasy VII. Go figure, right? I love the remake. Go figure. I love the series. Go figure. But to see these figures, oh, I am looking forward to them. I want to have these figures so badly. It's going to be so good. So to see that they're going to continue that gets me excited. I hope they continue to do that. I hope they continue to reveal more characters. I hope we get to see the others later on after Rebirth's release. That'd be awesome. I imagine since COVID and stuff like that, they've had to have this slow period of releases. but we'll eventually see more coming out later on in the future, I hope. That being said, we then have the second figure set, and these are more of the smaller miniature ones. These are the pixel block versions of the characters, so ones that basically roam around the area, explore and stuff like that. Basically those characters, you know, those particular ones. And the first set, I'm going to show them right here, right now, what they look like and stuff like that, but they comprise of like Cloud, Eris, Tifa, Barret, Red 13, and so on and so forth. And they only gave us a small snippet of like what the second volume is going to be, but from what we've seen so far, they've already got Cassis, as well as Yuffie, and technically Sid Highwind, which tells me that Sid Highwind will be viewable, or at least playable, I hope, within Rebirth. So that's kind of what gives me confirming that Sid Highwind will be there. I may be completely wrong, but I'm willing to bet that he'll be there, you know, because of this. I don't think it will, but you never know. You never know. But to see that these character models are going to continue on in Volume 2, that's really cool to see, in my personal opinion. I'm looking forward to that. From what the schedule for a Tokyo Game Show is and stuff like that, it doesn't look like there's going to be anything major new, per se. There are a lot of stuff that's been talked about and everything like that. For example, the more discussions on the Yakuza / Like a Dragon games, the Infinite Wealth, and then the Man Who Erased His Name. Now, I'm going to be the one to just go ahead and say this right now. I know there's going to be a lot of people who might not want to hear me say this, but I'm going to say it right now because this will lead on to another discussion talking about it too as well. But from what recent news has been talking about, it seems like Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, as well as Man Who Erased His Name are only going to be available digitally. The reason being is that there was news talking about from Atlas and them stating that they're wanting to release more digital-only games. And these two games were going to be the first AAA titles that was going to be pushing for digital release only. I kind of wish they wouldn't do that. You know, I mean, I guess it was eventually going to happen. You know, we had a lot of people kind of talking about it. We had a lot of people basically saying, you know, the future of digital releases is eventually upon us. And, you know, it was eventually going to be pushed to this point, but I wasn't expecting it to be this soon. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's like, it's discerning, and I don't like it. I understand, but I don't like it. You know, it's just, that's just me personally. And really, in all honesty, I still love to collect physical media. I still do. But it's just one of those things where now it's starting to become more of a nuisance to try to keep up physical collecting, especially right now, you know? Again, my situation is that my GameStop has closed down, and my Walmart does not do a fine job of keeping up with newly released titles. It's just one of those things where it's like it becomes more of a nuisance trying to keep up with physical media now. And I'm not going to deny it. It will get to a point where I will eventually have to submit and just do digital downloads, you know? I hate to say that, and I hate to admit defeat. But if the industry is going to be this way, then what choice do I have, you know? What choice does any of us have? Because, first and foremost, we have Final Fantasy Pixel Remasters. For those that don't know, they did a Pixel Remaster, and they only released it for mobile phones and Steam only at the time. Then they recently, this year in fact, did a release for PS4 and Switch. Now, the weird thing about that situation was the fact that by the time it got fully announced that they were going to be having physical copies, they were already put on waiting lists. Like, literally on waiting lists. Which was kind of suspicious, but still to a point. But then, the day before it got released, it was switched from a waiting list to no longer available. Which is sad. It meant that they did a limited release, a strictly limited release, like a very small limit for that matter, from the way it sounds. It wasn't millions, it was potentially hundreds of thousands, sadly. So, yeah. I missed out on getting a copy. And unfortunately, if you were to look right now to see if you can grab one, you're going to be looking about $400 for the standard and potentially close to $1,000 for the collector's edition. I mean, I would have gotten the standard PS4, but it's like, come on already, really? Why'd you limit it anyway? Then again, to be fair, they didn't do a physical release of Final Fantasy VII, 8, or 9. It was only a physical edition in Japan. So, I mean, I guess I would have eventually had to submit and just say, screw it, I'll just download them. But it's just, the second they announced that they were going to have a physical version of them, it threw me off entirely, and I wanted to get it so badly. But because of how scarce it is, it's just not worth it anymore. So eventually I will get the Pixel Remaster set, because I want it. I've wanted all the Final Fantasy games available onto one system, easily available and stuff like that. And nitpick aside, it would be nice to have them on a modern day console. I'm not a big fan of how tiny the characters look and stuff like that, much less the text. Hopefully, from what I've heard, they've done updates to where they can change that. So hopefully that'd be cool to be able to kind of enlarge the characters or enlarge the text. So that'd be nice. But we'll see how it goes once I finally do download them and stuff like that. When I get around to them, because to get the bundle, it's about $80. And it's like, ow, ow, ow. That's a lot of money to sink into. But it's like, fine, I'll get to it whenever I get a chance to, you know? Not only that, we also have the fact that technically there's a Dragon Quest game coming out. I had heard about this a couple of years ago, and when I saw gameplay of it, I was very excited about it. I loved how the gameplay looked. It looked fun, it looked exciting, and I was excited to play this. And I was wondering when it was going to be coming out, but it's going to be coming out towards the end of this month. It's going to be coming out shortly. One problem, though. When I was looking into pre-ordering this game potentially, it seems like America is only going to be having it digital only. And if you want a physical version, you would have to go to Play Asia, but it's like, I guess I'll get that digital. So it's like, it gets annoying now, because it's like, I want to get a physical copy of the game if I'm able to. Now it's becoming harder and harder to do that because of how either restricting or how overpriced the physical version of that copy is. And it's like, at this point, I'm just like, I don't have the money to do it anymore. I just don't. You know, I just want to play these games. I want to enjoy playing these games. And it just gets annoying now. It gets annoying. Thankfully, Pikmin 1 and 2 doesn't look like it's going to be that hard to pre-order it for. So that's going to be good to pick up and everything like that. It's just unfortunate that there are certain games that companies are being more restricted on, and it's becoming harder to get them now. And I know it was eventually going to happen, but it's like, you want to keep up collecting the physical copies, you know? You want to keep up getting the physical versions, because eventually the digital versions will be locked away from you. You know, it just kind of gets annoying, but either way, I'll accept it. You know, it's a hard pill to swallow, but I'll swallow it regardless, as much as I hate it, you know? But, getting a little sidetracked from it, I want to go back into talking about Square Enix a little bit because of the president's recent involvement. So, they recently had a new president, and the new president, I'm a little bit mixed on, because on the one hand, he's kind of a scale, you know. He's got a lot of good stuff that's going on with him, you know, with the fact that he's been a fan of Square Enix since he was younger, and his involvement with Square Enix currently right now, his thoughts for the future, like, there's a lot of good stuff. But then there's some recent rumors that's been talking about his involvements in regards to NFTs, which is stupid in my personal opinion. Very stupid. The fact that they've been so invested with NFTs. Like, if you've been following Square Enix for a while and you've been seeing some of their involvements, it's been pretty disgusting. That's just the one thing that I recently, whenever I heard about it and stuff like that, so I was a little bit leery about him. But then when I saw all the good stuff that's been going on and stuff like that, it seems like he's very positive. He seems very positive about Square Enix's involvement, including Final Fantasy 16, which is great because a lot of people were saying that Final Fantasy 16 failed Square Enix's expectations, which, to be fair, Square Enix expectations has always been overly high. Like, ridiculously overly high. Stupidly overly high. One would argue and say that the hype for those games are so overly exponential that is stupidly ridiculous. It's insane. Absolutely insane. But the president has confirmed that Final Fantasy 16 has met their expectations, which was why they decided to release DLC content for Final Fantasy 16. The fact that 16 has met their expectations, sold 3 million copies, and everything of that nature, they said, we love what it's done so far, we're going to confirm DLC for it. The fact that it's done so well for them now, they're wanting to do that. And that's great. That meant that they had their expectations a little bit lowered to where it's like, yeah, this is what we expected it to be within its first week. But then the president talked about this discussion. He brought up a discussion basically saying they want to select certain IPs and basically push them out into AAA status. That's a little bit of a confusing statement. Like, what games do they classify as AAA? What I want to see Square Enix versus fans. Fans probably already had what they thought is already confirmed to be AAA titles. I want to know what Square Enix expectations of AAA. We know Final Fantasy is. We know Dragon Quest is. And we also know Kingdom Hearts is. But what else is considered AAA? Because I thought Nier was AAA. The fact that they've done so much for Automata. They've also done a lot of promotional stuff with it. They've recently did the Nier Replicant, which is the Nier remake/remaster, depending on how you view it. So the question is Nier technically a AAA title, or is it still classified as a somewhat secondary market of titles that they carry? And plus, what other games could they possibly potentially release and push out for AAA? Will this include The World's Ends With You, which would be great for a lot of people who wants to see more World's Ends With You, especially since the sequel did really, really well in my personal opinion. There's also been some people who wanted to see Parasite Eve. Parasite Eve has been peaking up for quite some time. A lot of people were expecting to see like either a trilogy release or a remaster or a remake of them. A lot of people want to see Parasite Eve eventually come out. And with the news peaking up like it is, maybe that could be a potential title that could be pushed to AAA status? I don't know. There's also Dragon Guard. It's only had 3 titles, which is technically, from what I remember hearing people talk about, Dragon Guard, one of them, if not 2 of them, is technically a connection that leads on to the Nier franchise. Like it has like a multi-tier storyline, and one of the endings is connected to the Nier franchise. It'd be interesting to see what game they plan to push out into AAA status, because there's a lot of people who haven't been asking that. It's like, yeah, they want to push certain IPs to AAA status. As investors and stuff like that, you want to see that. You want to see more different games being pumped out and stuff. But then it's like, so what do they classify as AAA and what is not AAA? Is Chrono Trigger AAA? Is Chrono Cross? World's Ends With You? Nier? I mean, we already know Final Fantasy, Dragon Quest, as well as Kingdom Hearts is considered AAA. But what about the other games? Are they AAA? Obviously, the games from Eidos aren't AAA because they sold that off. They sold off Tomb Raider as well as the Deus Ex series. So there goes those games, sadly. But it's just kind of weird. I don't know what to think about it. It's just, I don't know. In terms of news, I think that covers it for right now. Like I said, there was a lot of stuff I wanted to talk about because, dadgummit, there was just a lot. There was just a lot of news, and I couldn't keep up with it. So I was just like, I wanted to just kind of wait and see what gets revealed and talk about it as it comes along and stuff. For example, while they wasn't revealed during the Directs or the Tokyo Game Show, they were talked about during those time periods. They were talked about. They wasn't shown during them, but they were outside of them. So, for example, there's a recent trailer for Wukong, and that game just keeps looking better and better. I cannot wait for that game, but I've had to keep my expectations low for that one. Because, again, it just looks really cool. It looks really awesome. I'm excited for that one. But its release date keeps being questionable. It keeps getting questionable to this date. And, oh gosh, I'm trying to keep my patience up, but it's so weary at times. Like I said, I've had to distance myself so that way I don't have too high of expectations because of its release and as well as how long it's taken and stuff. But compared to what it was like before this year, they were talking like it was going to be either 2023 or 2024. Now it's being talked like it's going to be summer 2024. So in other words, the fact that it's got more of a rumor concrete of like summer 2024. Hopefully that will end up being the case. I hope that ends up being the case because I would love for it to finally have like a confirmed release date. Because I just want to play it. Because it looks fun. It looks really, really fun. And I love how they've invented the character Wukong. I love how they've done the gameplay style. It just looks good. It looks good all the way around. And the bosses. Dark Souls quality, in my personal opinion. And that says a lot. You know, Dark Souls has improved in terms of their boss levels. But Wukong's got like higher expectations of like quality in my personal opinion. I love how it looks. It looks too good. I cannot wait for it. Like I said, I've had to keep my expectations low as possible, but it just keeps looking better. Then we also had the reveal of Little Nightmares 3. A third one. A third Little Nightmares. That's... wow. I mean, I've been wanting to play through the first and second one for a while now, but I've never got around to purchasing it at the moment. I'm just kind of like tied between purchasing it digitally versus physically. For the physical versions of 1 and 2 aren't expensive, thankfully. But it's like, do I want to get 1 and 2, or do I want to just get the bundle packet of 1 and 2 and just save money on that one, technically, you know? I'm kind of crossed between those two, because right now, again, 1 and 2 are under $30, which is not bad. That's pretty good. That's what I kind of wanted to have in terms of the physical versions of 1 and 2 of Little Nightmares. But at the same time, too, you can get 1 or 2 bundle during a sale for under potentially $25, which is really good, you know, getting both 1 and 2. I don't know if that includes the DLC for 1 and 2. I don't know. I don't think it does. But then again, neither would the physical versions technically, so I guess that depends on how you look at it. But at the same time too, I was just kind of tied between it, because again, the first and second one were easily physical, and you could get them, or you could just get them digitally. But with this recent announcement for the third one, that gets me interested about wanting to get it, especially how it looks. The third one does look good. I'm very fascinated by that one. And then, what are other games that I'm excited for? Like, I've got a kind of list, but I've had to kind of scratch certain ones off and then add certain ones on there, because it's like, right now, my car insurance has went up as well as my apartment rent has went up. And it hurts. It hurts. Now, I'm not going to say they went up like $100 instantly, thank God. But they have went up a little bit higher than they should. So it's one of those things where I'm just kind of like mix of like, how long can I keep this up? You know, how long can I continue to collect and stay within this working schedule that I've got? Because it's like, damn, I don't know. I don't know. It's definitely rough. It's rough for me to continue going through this because, again, it's just tight on money all the time. So I've had to cross certain ones. For example, Like a Dragon's, they're not my immediate spot because I've only beaten 0. So until I beat the other Yakuza games, I can't say if I'm going to be on top of the Like a Dragon series or not, you know? Because I like the 0, and I want to play the others. So eventually I do want to play those. So hopefully I'll get around to those games. I would like to eventually at some point. But right now, until I beat those other games, those other 2 are not my immediate ones at the moment. So those are crossed out at the moment. There's technically Liza P. That is out right now. That is officially out right now. I have to wait until the 25th of this month before I get my copy. I pre-ordered it on Amazon. It's available physical, but the shipping takes forever. Amazon, what are you doing to me here? I have to wait until the 25th. Meanwhile, everybody else are playing it, and they're... Oh, I wanted to play Lies of P so badly. I've been seeing that for so long, and I've been wanting to play it, and I gotta wait for it. But I can be patient. I gotta wait one more week, or less than 5 days technically. Less than 5 days when you think about it. So that'd be cool. I can't wait for it. Then there's of course Pikmin 1 and 2. So while I've played both of them technically, being able to play them on the Switch is going to be fun. I love doing that. And I might... Mech kind of gave me ideals about it. I would like to play through all 4 Pikmin games on Twitch. I would love to do that. So, look out for that, maybe? I don't know. Look out for me doing a Twitch playthrough of Pikmin 1 through 4 on Twitch. That'd be fun to do. I'm looking forward to that. Oh yeah! Lords of the Fallen. So, I hadn't talked about this, and I was wanting to, but I kind of... When I heard the title, I just kind of pushed myself away from that title because I was like, because, dumb me, I thought this was connected to the Lords of the Fallen series, you know? Lords of the Fallen was supposed to be kind of like a Dark Souls clone, and it was a bad representation. I played a little bit of it, and I lost interest in it entirely. Oh man, it did not do well for me. It did not. And last I heard about that series, it was going to get a sequel. And I read about it, and I may be wrong, but I think the second one got canceled. I may be wrong, but I think the second one got canceled. But then we got this new game, Lords of the Fallen, and I was like, oh, they're trying to reinvent it or revive it? I don't know. So I just didn't look into it. But then I saw a gameplay trailer for it, and I'm like, is this the same Lords of the Fallen that I remember? 'Cause what? This looks insane. This looks nuts. This looks good. Like, that's the crazy part. It actually looks good. It actually looks good. But I'm probably just going to put that on the waiting pile at the moment because it's like, I don't know how it's going to be like. You know, that comes out in October. But I'm like, let's just kind of distance myself from that one for a moment because I don't know what it's going to be like, obviously, you know? So I'm just going to wait it out, but that does have my interest a little bit. So I'm like, wouldn't mind picking that up a little bit. And I don't know about the rest of this year. I forget. I would have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure I'm good on that one. I still haven't played through Tears of the Kingdom. I haven't picked it up, technically, but I wouldn't mind playing through that one. As big of a fan I am of Breath of the Wild, I've heard a lot of people talk about Tears of the Kingdom. I've heard the highs and lows, but overall they're all the same. It says that it starts off really, really rough, but then it ends off really, really good. And I've heard that it's even longer than the first one. Breath of the Wild was long, but to hear that Tears of the Kingdom is longer, that's impressive. That's really impressive. I would have to give them props on that one, but I want to play that eventually at some point in time. So, looking forward to that whenever that time gets around. I think that's it for this year. Next year, and possibly even further on, depending on how things go. As far as I know, there's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Looking forward to that. Wukong, Black Myth Wukong. I love how that looks still. I'm looking forward to that one right now. There is Rise of the Ronin, but we haven't gotten any more details since the last direct. Then we've got another one. I forgot the title of it. I'll post it up here to let you see what it is and stuff like that. I can't think of the name, but it was another one that I was excited for. It looks cool. It looks good. Then there's another one that's a Chinese development title. And then, of course, there's Lost Souls Aside. Both of them have released titles that are kind of iffy at the moment right now. So, right now they're kind of in the unknown territory, much like Wukong and stuff. But they still look really cool in my personal opinion. I'm looking forward to those. Really, I'm just waiting on Kingdom Hearts 4. You know, I mean, I knew it was going to take a little bit of time before we actually saw any more details, but I ain't gonna lie, I'm kind of like everybody else, where I'm just kind of like, a little bit more detail wouldn't hurt, you know, just a little bit. I admit, I might be a little bit greedy in terms of Kingdom Hearts 4, but since they've shown that teaser bit, it's kind of got me, like, on edge of, like, oh gosh, what's gonna happen now? I just, I want to see what happens next. I want to know what's going on, because, oh gosh, it gets me kind of a little on edge right there just to see it, technically. But yeah, so I guess that's it in terms of games that I'm looking forward to at the moment. So here's a list of all the games that I'm looking forward to getting whenever they either get released, get available, so on and so forth. You see it right there. Let me know what you think. I think that's going to be it for this segment of Gamer Chat, you know, because again, I just wanted to talk about all the stuff in regards to video games. I just wanted to talk a little bit about my situation in terms of news, in terms of collecting, in terms of video games in genuine, because there's a lot of stuff to talk about, because holy shit, that was a lot to talk about. But at any rate, though, guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments below, how do you like this segment? Do you like this longer version of me talking about video games in genuine, talking about everything in regards to news and stuff like that, just condensing them all into one video package? What do you feel, you know? Let me know in the comments below. I want to know what your thoughts are and stuff like that. And until next time, I'll see you then. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.